You've heard people say it over and over again. If you want to get good at art, you gotta practice. Practice, practice, practice. The more you work at it, the better you're going to get. But how do you practice your art? Hey everyone, welcome back to the Coos Art Museum's online art lessons, where we bring the art into your home. Today I'm going to give you 5 different things that you can practice to get better at sketching. Here we have our lovely sketchbook. It's blank and ready for us to fill up these pages full of amazing art. But where do you even start? The first thing I would tell you about sketching is that not every single piece of paper in your sketchbook has to be a masterpiece. Just like when you go to the gym, you're not just going to start off at the hardest thing first. You're going to do some warm-ups. So not every single minute at the gym is, lifting weights. You're going to do a whole bunch of different things to warm up. Same thing with art. There are going to be some things that you can do that are not going to produce anything great and wonderful, but they're just going to get you warmed up and ready to go so that hopefully you can create some art that you really enjoy. So you'll see here on the first side of my sketchbook, I am just making some random lines. Now, they're actually not that random. Whether you're left-handed or right-handed, there's going to be a direction that your hand is most comfortable sketching. So for me, it's this nice diagonal line. Also, I'm good at doing kind of this curved line up and down. But if I want to do this way of a diagonal line, it's a little challenging for my hand. And if I want to go this way, it's a little bit tougher. So I want to warm up my hand by doing all sorts of different directional lines, ones that are comfortable and ones that aren't as comfortable. That's going to help me to get my arm loosened up. It's going to help me to not have as stiff of a drawing if you kind of loosen everything up a little bit. A thing you're going to notice is, of course, I'm not drawing on an actual traditional paper and pen. I'm drawing digitally on my computer. It works very similar to a paper and pen. I have a tablet where I can see the screen and I draw on top of that. And I know a lot of artists are getting into digital drawing. That's wonderful. I do a little bit of both. I like having a paper sketchbook and I also like drawing digitally. The reason I'm doing this for you guys is because it's a little bit easier for you to see what I am doing because my hand isn't in the way. All right, let's get a clean piece of paper. The next thing I'm going to do is a timed quick sketch. So I'm going to look at a reference photo here. I have one that I found of a dog, and I'm going to do a super quick sketch. I'm going to give myself, let's say 30 seconds to draw this. And I am just going to, I am not looking for a finished masterpiece. I am just drawing super fast. It's going to be messy. But what this does for time sketches is to make you not focus on the details. It's making you see the overall thing that you are drawing as a whole. And there it goes. It goes really fast. So not a great dog, right? But I'm going to up this up a little bit higher. I'm going to do now my next time sketch, and I'm going to bring it down to 10 seconds. And starting again. So, just get that shape in there. And you might be thinking to yourself, why? You're not creating any good art. This is really fast. But again, it's forcing me to see the overall most important features about the subject that I'm drawing. So now, if I go back in and try to set this drawing up, I'm going to find that my setup is going to be a lot more accurate because I've rushed myself. I've had to see what's the most important things to make these simple lines try to resemble what it is I'm drawing. I can now break that down a little bit. So maybe I won't get so hung up on just exactly how the head looks right away. And then when I get done, then I'm looking at the whole thing and the head is way too big. I'm maybe not noticing this great curved line of the body. So doing time sketches is a great way to do some warm-ups, especially if you're drawing a subject that you're not quite familiar with, because you're allowing yourself to not create something great. You're just getting in there and figuring out what this thing is that you're drawing. So that's number 2. A third thing you can do to practice your sketching and drawing is to work on your shadows. Here I have a reference photo. You can even just set up household objects just to look at them, see how the light interacts. I'm going to take this cone shape right here and work on that. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to draw out the shape of my cone. And you'll notice that when I'm sketching, my lines are really loose. It's messy. Sketching is not a finished piece of art. This is your practicing. Later on, if I wanted to do a fabulous drawing of this cone, I would take a lot more care and refine my lines down and erase the lines that I don't need. But on this one, I'm just learning. So my light source is coming from over here. So I'm going to bring in my shadow there, looking at those details. I find oftentimes as artists, we find that one thing we love to draw and we draw it all the time. And we get really good at it. But we tend to steer clear of the things that maybe we're not as confident in creating. We're a little bit more nervous about making a mistake or messing up. So it's good to draw things we love. But it's also really helpful as an artist to push ourselves in creating things that maybe we are not as confident in drawing. So maybe you need a little work on shading and shadowing. Then push yourself to practice it. Make a little page of just shading and shadowing. And then reward yourself. Go back and draw that fun thing that you always love to draw. Out of curiosity, I would love to know what that is. So let me know in the comment section below, what is your favorite thing to create? The fourth thing that I would recommend is to do a study. If you're learning how to draw people and you're having a problem with hands, do a study of just some hands. Don't draw 10 or 15 people with hands, because then you're spending a whole bunch of time working on a large project when really you need to just to focus on that area that you need help with. So instead of drawing a couple of different people with hands, just fill up your sketchbook with hands. Hands and feet for me for a long time were really challenging. They're by no means easy, but they're easier, and I find that if I feel I'm getting a little rusty with them, that I just knuckle down, have a be, and practice sketching out my hands for 10 minutes even. That it's a lot easier. Don't be afraid of something just because it's hard, and don't worry if it doesn't turn out great. Like this fist, not so great. I'm not going to erase it. I'm just going to continue on drawing some more things. I'm not going to worry about mistakes. This is what your sketchbook is all about. It's your kind of your journal of your art journey, and in your journey you make some things that maybe don't turn out that great, but they're still part of your journey, so it's okay. Allow yourself time to learn, to take a chance, to make a mistake, because that is how you will improve. Before I tell you my final idea for practicing, please remember that these are just 5 different ideas. There are so many different ways that you can practice art and get better. These 5 would just give you some ideas of places to start. But this happens to be one of my favorite, and that is to mix up what you're working with. If you are a pencil drawer, try adding some color. If you like to just ink, try adding some chalk. If you decide I'm going to do an ink sketch, we'll put a little bit of a watercolor wash with that. See what happens. Again, you are not having to create a finished piece, so don't worry if you choose a pen and it doesn't respond well to watercolor and you get a ooey gooey mess. Well, that's okay, because now you've learned that pen will create an ooey gooey mess if you use it with watercolor. It could very well be that there's an art project that you want an ooey gooey mess with, and now you go, hey, I've got that pen. Of course, by creating with digital art, I have an infinite amount of colors and tools to use and to play around with. If you're doing traditional art, it can be a little bit challenging because you might only have just a few different supplies. Talk to some people that know about art supplies. We have a wonderful art store here in our community, the Art Connection, and they would love to talk with you guys about getting some new mediums out there, and they love to share what they know about art supplies. So this practice session with 5 different sketches that I've done took me less than half an hour, like 20 minutes to do. And now that I'm warmed up, I have some inspiration, then I can sit down and start tackling a more serious piece, something that I want to invest some time and effort into. But I've also learned some things. If you'd like to share your art with us, we'd love to see it. You can use the hashtag CamArtAtHome on social media to tag us in your photos and we'll take a peek at it. If you're not yet a subscriber to our YouTube channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future art videos. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. So until our next art video, stay creative.